Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage. Today we're doing another update on the free T. With everything kind of out right now, getting work done with the upholstery being done on the body and the engine nearing its completion, I'm trying to button up the last of the mechanical stuff. So the next thing on our list here, after getting suspension together, is the brake lines. So I got the pedal set up, all bolted in place. I got a master cylinder that I got off Amazon that's sitting here, a brand new one. I got stainless fittings. I got some copper nickel brake line, which I like to work with. It's a little bit softer, so it's easier to bend and manipulate, and also it's a little easier to flare. So I tend to use this brake line. So we're going to show you guys making up brake lines for this. We're using the F1 style pedal cluster and also the master cylinder, and then we're using factory juice brake parts, Ford juice brake parts. Around the car. So we're going to plumb all this together using some old parts, some new parts, and showing you guys the tools that I use to do this type of job along the way. So let's get started.
Probably so go to there. We need to bend it kind of down to put a weight. Put a weight. Something like that.
Yeah.
That'll get us close enough, and then we can tweak it. Set up in there. There's plenty there. Okay. So we'll cut that. This will probably need a little bit of a cut too.
Yeah.
So we'll flare this, put it in,
And then cut your length less.
yes. This goes like this. That go down. Oh, shit. Flush. Tighten that down. Done. Perfect flares every time.
There you go. They are nice.
This thing's
I am a little jealous.
should be cut. I think it might be cut. I'm just.
Wouldn't it just fall out? There we
There we
go.
go. This has cut a lot of brake line. It might be getting a little dull. Alright, so now we can tweak a little bit. Get that. Actually lost a little bit of our bend in the tool. So yeah, just push there to straighten. Okay, so that'll keep it not on the center, so if it ever bottoms out, it's not on the... All right, so we're gonna work on getting the soft line that goes from, so we're gonna go from the master cylinder around. We're gonna make a little tab that mounts this center cross member. We have our soft line here that's gonna go from the frame to the torque tube. So we're gonna take this soft line and kind of make a tab that mounts underneath the torque tube, and it also mounts under to the center cross member. So we don't want to just, the rear we were kind of in the open, so we were able to just free bend it easily, but because we need to do like a couple real hard bends, we're going to need to use some TIG rod. So I like to use like 1/16 TIG rod I like to use, and you can basically bend this up to your pattern. Then you can take a piece of string and figure out how long it is, lay it out on a table, and then you can cut roughly what you need for your brake line. So we're gonna use this to kind of bend and do our trial pieces, and then we can cut another line. This is probably the most difficult line right here, is getting from here. There's gonna be a bunch of zigzags, so we'll, once we get that figured out, we'll kind of be doing pretty good for running the line to the back. Right there. So we're gonna wanna go, actually we wanna be high. Like this. Right. And it's actually going to be out from the, it's going to be out a little bit because of that soft line. So I think we want to be,
All right, so this one, we're going here to the middle, right?
yep. But we want it to go, we want to angle it up. Actually it'd be better if it just bent higher. So I'll get my cutters and make it shorter.
More than a 45?
No, we'll just make this straight piece shorter. Two of them can mount like that, and that'll mount underneath. That'll be pretty good.
Right.
All right, that's our little piece there. So this one we're gonna have to flare it and put the fitting on before we make the bend, because you'll never get it in the thing. So we might want to flare,
Clean it, put the fitting on that tie.
bend, and do this one last, so we get all this angles all just right, and then we know exactly where that bend is. Okay, so we got our little pattern here. Our first bend that needs to be made is pretty sharp. This comes down out of the master cylinder union and has a sharp bend, so we need to put that in our brake line. We've already kind of made a mark on the brake line. It's real light, but right there. So this is too sharp of a bend for my brake line tubing bender. So the nice thing about this copper nickel tubing is you can make a little bit sharper of bends with it. So what we can do is you find something round that's a similar diameter. So we have this 3/8 extension, and it has almost the same diameter bend that we need in it. So we can use that to go around it. So the nice thing is we can do a lot of this by hand with a copper nickel, so we can actually put this on the start of our bend and carefully bend around and get our 90, and should be pretty good. Got a nice 90 there, not too flattened out. Much more of a tight radius than that, we'd be putting a flat spot in it, but we got something that's pretty darn close there, and now we can just move along and make our next bends. So we're just gonna have to rotate it once we bend it. Rotate it up. Like after we make this 90,
Yep.
to go that way, or is it a 90? Yeah, once we make a 90 to go that way, we probably will have to rotate it up to get it.
So when you're going to market, bring your thing back there again?
So we're going to want to start our bend like right here.
Yeah. I think we'll do a more gradual, not as sharp of a bend as this one. Okay, so we have our last piece of tubing bent up here, and I put a fitting on. This goes into the master cylinder end, and the other end we need to wait to do the bend till after we have the fitting on, because we want the bend right in there close to where the fitting is. And this particular tool or flaring tool here, you need to have the room to fit the die on there to clamp it. So having that in there, you need to account for that. So we're going to actually do the bend last. Now, one thing you want to make sure you do when whether you're using one of these flaring tools from Eastwood or you're using one of the cheaper style of brake flaring tools, is you need to make sure that you're actually taking the brake line and cleaning both the inside diameter and the outside diameter, because a lot of times when you get this getting flares that are not shaped correctly, it's because there's too much material from when you actually cut the tubing. So on the inside of this, I'll try and get a shot here so you can see. The OD is actually quite a bit smaller than it needs to be, so you can see that there. So what I would do is take this Eastwood deburring tool for tubing, and the one end you can take and just basically twist it, and it will knock those burrs off like so. Blow it out. Puts a nice chamfer on the piece, and now we have our full opening there, which is good. Now the other thing I'll do is I'll take the other side of this tool, and it actually has it for the OD, so you can stick it in there and just you don't have to press down real hard, just go and you'll feel it cut and kind of take any burrs off the outside. And there. And now we have the outside edges all nice and chamfered as well. So we can go ahead and fit that in, clamp everything down, lube it up, and make our next flare. All right, so we got the brake lines all made up and everything is kind of dry fitted, and I'm really happy with how all the lines came out. Now in those last handful of shots you saw, we were mounting up those little rubber coated C-clips. Those are made for 3/16 brake lines, and we just drilled little 1/8" holes in the frame and ran in self-tappers with some washers to clamp that down. That's going to hold the brake lines nice and tight on the frame rails so they're not bouncing around or flexing, or they get caught when we're assembling the car. So those are great. Now the one issue that we did have early on is that I ordered a master cylinder from Amazon in a moment of a weak moment on the internet where I wanted something quickly, and I got it in the mail and we went to fit it, and the bolt holes don't line up at all. They're like, I don't know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch off some of the holes. They don't line up with the original pedal cluster holes, so not going to work. So we basically used the master cylinder for space so that we could get all the lines fitted, and we knew everything would fit together really nicely. The overall shape and size of it was fine. It was just that the flange on it, the bolt holes, did not line up. So now that we got all the brake lines fitted, when I get the new master cylinder in a couple of days, I'm going to put that in the vise, basically bench bleed that, then we'll put it on the car, bleed the whole entire brake system, and then we will have working brakes, which is really important because the way this car is built and channeled down, it's kind of hard to get to the pedals in the master cylinder, so it's a lot easier to do it with the body off, and I'd rather I'd like to avoid taking the body on and off as many times as much as I need to, as I can. I'd like to avoid it. So we're gonna try and get the brakes all bled before we get everything back. And we will definitely give you guys a kind of a video update as we're doing bleeding the brakes and all the different things that go along with that. But that's basically how I bend up a brake system. It's pretty simple on these cars when you're using original parts. It's fairly straightforward. You just have to take your time in making the bends so that you don't waste material. That's all I have for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and you are anticipating the home stretch of the free T, just like I am. I'm super excited. For any of you guys that missed it in some of the other videos, we are debuting the free T at the Viva East show in Massachusetts. We're gonna have a flyer we can drop right here that you guys can see. That is the second weekend in July, and we're gonna be there Friday and Saturday with the free T kind of on display, and we're gonna be there hanging out and kind of hopefully meeting some of you guys that are in the Northeast and from all over. It's going to be a great time. Definitely if you're in the area, try and attend the event because it's going to be a lot of fun. We do videos on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. If you haven't, definitely subscribe because it's just starting to get fun. Thanks guys. Catch you later.